So Cooper Flagg is a Maverick. I think people aren't understanding how elite this fit is. Let's start with his fit with Davis. Cooper Flagg's defense is already ridiculous. At Duke, he averaged 1.4 steals and 1.4 blocks per game while guarding literally everyone on the floor. The guy's wingspan is 7 feet, and he moves laterally, like he's glitching through real life. That kind of switchability gives the Mavericks exactly what they need around Anthony Davis, who, despite being allergic to playing center full-time, still put up 2.3 blocks per game last season. When Flagg plays at the small forward or power forward spot, Davis can shift over to center in small ball lineups, and they don't lose anything on the defense. In fact, they gain a lot. That duo turns Dallas into a projected top 5 defense, according to Sporting News, and I believe it. The projected lineup of Irving, Thompson, Flagg, Davis, and Lively has a defensive rating of 108.9. That's elite. Flagg's off-ball reads are so sharp that he covers up Irving's defensive gaps like they're being painted over. Davis anchors the rim. Flagg disrupts passing lanes and switches like a maniac. There's no wasted motion between them. Together, they could become one of the nastiest defensive combos in the league, not just by reputation, but by the numbers. Offensively, Flagg fits next to Davis in a way that actually makes sense. Starting in January, Flagg shot 45.1% from beyond the arc at Duke. That's not just decent, that's knockdown level, especially considering he did it on a decent volume and still managed to end the season at 38.5%. His catch and shoot game was lethal. He scored 1.25 points per possession on spot-ups. That kind of gravity forces defenses to stay honest, which creates more space for Davis to roll to the rim or operate in the mid-range where he's always been dangerous. Davis was putting up 20 points per game last season on 58.3% true shooting. As a roll man, he hit 1.12 points per possession, which is efficient, even by all-star standards. Flagg complements that by taking pressure off Davis to do everything. He averaged 4.2 assists at Duke, mostly by making smart reads on double teams. If Davis gets doubled, Flagg's throwing skip passes or handing it off at the perfect time. The ball keeps moving and the floor stays spaced. Dallas can play 5-out lineups with Flagg on the wing and Davis at center, or they can go big with Flagg and Davis together at the forward and center spots while Lively cleans up at the rim. Flagg's scoring at 19.2 points per game at Duke means he doesn't just stand around. He can shoulder real usage, which is exactly what Davis needs next to him to stay healthy and productive across the season. Flagg's listed at 6'9" and spent 62% of Duke's minutes at power forward, but he's got enough handle to actually initiate the offense when needed. His 4.2 assists were not flukes. That opens up so many options for Dallas, especially when Irving sits. Flagg can operate as a point forward, and Davis becomes the perfect pick-and-pop threat next to him. That combo is brutal for defenses, and since Davis hates playing full-time center, Flagg's ability to guard bigger wings like Kevin Durant or Jason Tatum lets Davis avoid banging in the paint every possession. Davis played 27% of his minutes at center last season. With Flagg around, that could go up to around 40% without losing anything on defense. Now let's talk bench lineups. Flagg plus Davis plus Lively or Gafford leads to a projected net rating of plus 12.3. That's absurd. Flagg scores 1.18 points per possession in transition, so he gets out and runs when Davis grabs boards or blocks shots. It's like a turbocharged, fast break that actually ends with points instead of wild floaters. Flagg's on-off numbers at Duke plus 22.1 per 100 possessions. That's not just noise. That's impact. And if you remember rookie year Anthony Davis, he was at plus 20.3. So Flagg's early production profile is in the same galaxy as Davis was when he entered the league. That's not a projection. That's from actual game data. Davis had a usage rate of 28.3% last season, which means the team depends on him to create offense a lot. Flagg's usage at Duke was 23.5%, which is low enough to keep the offense flowing, but high enough that he's not invisible. His 62.3% true shooting in half-court sets is the kind of number that makes analytics nerds freak out. He doesn't just score, he scores efficiently and within the system. Put them together, and you're looking at a possible jump from 39 wins to over 50 next season. That's based on projected win shares, with Flagg contributing an estimated 8.2 and Davis at 9.1. That combo changes the math in the Western Conference. You also get 2 timelines built into one team. Davis is 32 and Irving is 33. They're in the now window, but Flagg is 18 and Lively is 21. That means Dallas can go all in on the present while developing a long-term star. It's not one or the other. They don't have to pick. They get both. And if things go sideways, Flagg's trade value is through the roof. Some scouts already compare him to Wembanyama from the 2024 class. That means if Dallas wants to pivot and go big, they could package him for someone like Giannis. But honestly, they probably won't, because if they keep him, Flagg becomes a cornerstone for the next 10 years. And he does it while supporting Davis during his final stretch of elite years. Their skill sets aren't redundant, they're complementary. Flagg's shooting, passing, and defense cover up the exact weak points in Davis's game, like durability and playmaking. And Davis's interior scoring and elite rim protection let Flagg roam freely without carrying the entire load. This pairing gives Dallas the flexibility to change styles without changing personnel. They can run high-octane offense with shooters all over, or clamp down and grind it out defensive battles. The advanced stats already project them to finish top 10 in both offense and defense when Flagg and Davis share the floor. That's not marketing hype. That's backed by lineup data, usage rates, and efficiency. This isn't just some hypothetical experiment. The stats make it clear. Flagg and Davis on the Mavericks has the potential to work at an elite level on both ends. The numbers back it up, and I'm all for it. But then we gotta talk about his fit with Kyrie. Cooper Flagg's fit with Kyrie. Irving is all over the numbers, and it's loud. At Duke, Flagg put up 19.2 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 4.2 assists per game, while shooting 38.5% from deep. That's on 3.6 attempts too, not just corner shots with no pressure. That kind of versatility means he doesn't have to wait in the corner watching Kyrie cook. He can handle it himself. Those 4.2 assists, that's not just swing passes. He's functioning like a secondary playmaker, which takes serious pressure off Irving, who's already doing everything on the ball. Irving dropped 24.7 points per game last season and added 6.1 assists. But it's the dual initiation that really makes this work. With both Flagg and Irving running actions, defenders can't load up. Flagg's not just spacing the floor, he's dragging defenders out with him. Since January, he was shooting 45.1% from three. That's elite spacing. It forces defenders to stick with him, which opens the court for Irving's drive. And on the flip side, when Irving draws help, Flagg's hitting spot-ups at 1.25 points per possession. That's a nightmare for defenses. On the defensive side, Flagg makes Kyrie's life way easier. He averaged 1.4 steals and 1.4 blocks at Duke and has a 7-foot wingspan. He guards 1 through 4 and switches without a hiccup. Irving's never been a great defender. His career defensive box plus minus sits at -1.2. But Flagg helps erase that. He can switch onto guards and wings, and his rotations on the weak side cover up so much ground that Kyrie doesn't have to chase every cut, like his career depends on it. That projected starting lineup, Irving, Thompson, Flagg, Davis, and Lively, sits at a defensive rating of 108.9. That's top tier. And Flagg's block rate of 3% doesn't even fully show how many shots he alters just by being in the right place. He's a roamer with elite timing, and that lets Irving focus on offense without completely tanking the team's defense. And the thing is, they've been great this whole season, and you can make this your best season yet with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. Personally, I've been using Factor for the past few weeks, and honestly, it's changed everything. No more stressing over what to cook or cleaning up after. Just heat, eat, and go. Especially while watching the playoffs, it makes everything so easy. The shredded chicken taco bowl, fire. The garlic herb salmon, better than anything I've ever made at home. Instead of being stuck in the kitchen, I've been spending more time outside and hitting the gym. And Factor fits right into that routine. And like I said, with the playoffs on too, you don't gotta stress about missing the game. With 45 weekly options, I can switch it up constantly. Whether I'm aiming for high protein or just keeping it light, they've got it all. Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, even veggie meals. Plus, they've got snacks and desserts that don't ruin your goals. I've been loving their smoothies and those peanut butter energy bites. I'm hooked. So why not savor more this summer? Let Factor take care of the meals so you can enjoy more of everything else. Get started at factormeals.com/modernjam50off and use code ModernJam50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code ModernJam50off at factormeals.com/modernjam50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Thank you, Fact. Now, transition play with these two, that's just pure juice. Flagg put up 1.18 points per possession on fast breaks. He runs like he's shot out of a cannon, and he's got court vision too. Kyrie's a career 1.12 points per possession scorer in transition, and he's one of the best in the league at delivering outlet passes on the move. That's a real combo. Flagg pulls down 7.5 rebounds a game, and he's not waiting to hand it off. He's grabbing and going. Kyrie trails the play, spots up, or slashes, depending on the read. That kind of flow kills slow-footed defenses. Irving's handle is still surgical. His turnover percentage last season was 3.2. That means the ball's safe in his hands, even when everything's chaotic. So if Flagg starts the break, Irving's there to finish it or take over in secondary transition. It's clean, fast, and efficient. Dallas can get weird with their lineups in the best way possible. They can go small with Irving, Flagg, Thompson, Davis, and Lively, and it doesn't collapse. Flagg's shooting keeps spacing alive even when Kyrie isolates, and defensively, Flagg can guard point guards. That gives them the option to switch everything. You don't see that often with a rookie. And then there's the fact that Irving's already dealing with injury. He's got that torn ACL, so he's going to miss the early chunk of the season. Flagg's 4.2 assists show he can take over as a rookie initiator, similar to what Jason Tatum did during his first year in Boston. He's not a traditional point guard, but he knows how to move the ball and keep the offense from falling apart. That's a safety net Dallas needs. Flagg's impact at Duke was crystal clear. The team was plus 22.1 points per 100 possessions when he was on the floor. That's not just good, it's game-changing. Kyrie, for all the drama, still brings a plus 5.8 career on-court net rating. When you stack those two numbers together, the Mavericks suddenly look like a top 10 offense by the metrics. Irving's usage last year was a massive 30.1%. That's a heavy load. You can't keep running him into the ground. Flagg's usage at Duke was 23.5%, just enough to be a threat, not enough to hog the ball. He works perfectly off Kyrie without disrupting the flow. And in the half court, Flagg's true shooting percentage was 62.3. So not only is he smart with his shots, he's deadly efficient. From a long-term perspective, it's almost unfair. Irving's 33 and Davis is 32. They're in that win-now window, but Flagg's just 18. He's already producing like a top pick. And he fits with Dallas's other young guy, Lively, who's 21. That's a dual timeline setup that a lot of teams want, but can't pull off. Dallas might actually be doing it. There's no wasted movement with Flagg. His skill set complements Kyrie's perfectly. Flagg shoots, passes, defends, and doesn't need the ball every play to be effective. Kyrie isolates, breaks down defenses, and demands help. That combo creates mismatches everywhere, especially in pick and rolls. And defensively, Flagg lets Kyrie off the hook without blowing up the scheme. It's not just a good fit on paper, the data says it works. The projected net rating when Flagg and Irving share the floor is plus 8.2. That's not fantasy basketball hype. That's real numbers pointing to real success. Flagg's ability to slide into small or big lineups adds a whole new layer. Play him at small forward or bump him into a front court with Davis. It doesn't matter. He keeps the floor balanced and makes everyone's life easier. Kyrie especially benefits, since the spacing never collapses and the defensive liabilities don't balloon out of control. This isn't some dream scenario. Flagg's numbers line up with what Dallas actually needs. Kyrie's still a monster offensively, and now he's got a teammate who can run the offense when needed, shoot lights out, and defend like a lunatic. The Mavericks finally have a real two-way wing that pairs with Kyrie without getting in his way. The stats don't lie. This is a fit that could seriously work. But then let's talk about Klay. Cooper Flagg's fit with Klay Thompson on the Mavericks comes down to skill sets that snap together like magnets. No fluff, just clean numbers that work. At Duke, Flagg put up 19.2 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 4.2 assists a game, while shooting 38.5% from 3 and 84% from the line. That alone makes him plug and play next to a veteran like Thompson, who thrives off the ball. Flagg's ability to create offense as a 6'9" point forward with a nearly 7-foot wingspan means Klay doesn't have to do anything he's not built for anymore, which is handling the ball under pressure. Klay's not that guy anymore. He's 35, and while his name still carries weight, his off-the-dribble stuff has slowed down. But his shooting, still lethal. His career three-point percentage is over 41%. And he continues to torch defenses when he's set. With Flagg setting up drives and kicking out, he was in the 92nd percentile. As a passer on drives in college, Klay gets clean looks. It's simple math. The more Flagg initiates, the less Klay has to, and that makes his shots more efficient. The numbers show Klay still ranks as one of the top catch-and-shoot players in the league, and that's exactly what Dallas needs from him. The Mavericks don't want him putting the ball on the floor 6 times before pulling up. They want Flagg to draw the defense in, force rotations, and then hit Klay in rhythm. That's how you extend a shooter's shelf life. It's why Klay still put up 14 points per game last season, mostly working off the ball. Defensively, this pairing is all about Flagg helping Klay survive. Klay's not the perimeter defender he used to be. Opposing players scored 3.2 more points per game when he guarded them last year. The lateral movements dipped, but Flagg, he's still got bounce, quickness, and ridiculous instincts. He averaged 1.4 steals and 1.4 blocks at Duke and had one of the best KenPom ratings since 2010. He guards multiple positions and rotates like he's on fast forward. That makes a real difference for Klay. Instead of chasing wings across screens or sliding with quick guards, Klay can focus on positional defense, while Flagg handles the chaos. It's a relief plan, and when both are on the floor, it's not just about stopping isolation plays, it's about building a switchable defense. Flagg's 3.5% block rate means he's contesting shots even when he's a step off. That's insurance for Klay. Dallas's projected starting lineup of Irving, Thompson, Flagg, Davis, and Lively is built for balance. The offensive rating is projected at 118.3, driven by the spacing Flagg and Klay bring. When both are on the wing, defenses can't sag. Flagg's three-point shot demands attention, and he was hitting 45.1% from deep after January. With both shooters on the floor, Dallas's three-point attempt rate could jump to 45%. Last season, they were at 39.1. That extra 6% is a problem for defenses. More open looks, quicker rotations, and more space for Davis inside. Klay's usage dropped to around 24.7% last season, and it should fall even lower now. Flagg allows that. When you've got a rookie who can initiate offense and average over 4 assists a game, it's a luxury. Klay can focus on what he does best. Let Flagg take the top of the key and hit Klay on pin downs, flares, and baseline curls. And if the defense blitzes Klay, Flagg makes the skip pass. That's why the pairing worked. Less is more when it comes to Klay's role now. And the age split isn't a bug, it's a feature. Klay's 35, Flagg's 18. It's the veteran young star dynamic that works when the pieces are right. Think about the Warriors back in 2015. You had Curry and Thompson already established, and then Draymond blew up into a playmaking Swiss Army knife. Flagg's not exactly the same profile, but the energy is similar. He brings mobility and vision that refresh Klay's game. Flagg's scrimmage performances against Team USA gave more reason to trust the transition. Kevin Durant's comments on Flagg's feel for the game weren't fluff. They're backed up by what we've seen. His movement off the ball complements Klay's spacing. That chemistry doesn't take long to build when both guys know where to be and when to cut. Rotation-wise, this is pretty clean. Irving's out until 2026 with a torn ACL, so Flagg's gonna get early responsibility. He's projected to average around 32 minutes per game, while Klay sat at 28.5 last season. That gives the Mavericks a structure where at least one elite shooter is on the floor at all times. If Flagg runs the second unit, he can operate as a point forward. That keeps the offense alive without depending on a shaky bench guard or asking Klay to play make at 35. The numbers tell the story better than anyone could. Flagg's advanced metrics at Duke included a plus 22.1 on-off impact per 100 possessions. That's huge. You don't see rookies swing the floor that much unless they're special. And Klay's career net rating when on the court is still solid when he's paired with good creators. You put those two together, and the Mavericks start looking like a top 10 offense. Again, not theoretical, just math. From a lineup perspective, Flagg's ability to play 3 positions is the key. You can run small ball with him at power forward or go traditional and slot him at small forward. Either way, he makes Klay's job easier. On defense, he switches across multiple spots, gives them rim protection from the wing, and keeps Klay out of tough matchups. On offense, he creates spacing and keeps Klay in rhythm. The projected offensive rating for lineups featuring both of them is 112.9, according to models built off cleaning the glass analogs. That's top 5 range. It's not about Klay being what he was, it's about using what he is now. An elite shooter who needs smart creators around him. Flagg is that creator. He doesn't need 30 touches to make an impact, and he moves without the ball. That's the foundation for a really efficient wing combo. In the big picture, it's not just about this season. Klay's winding down, but Flagg is just getting started. Their overlap creates a chance for Dallas to build a competitive team now while prepping the next generation. Flagg's not just here to develop quietly. His numbers at Duke, from the shooting to the assists to the defense, say he's ready to contribute to winning basketball from the jump. The Mavericks need those contributions fast, especially with Irving out and Davis carrying the interior load. Flagg's presence gives Klay a reliable wing partner, and their combined skills, shooting, off-ball movement, spacing, and defensive coverage, are tailor-made for today's game. The Mavericks do not have to guess if this pairing will work. The stats already answered that. But what about the bigs? Cooper Flagg lining up with Lively and Gafford on the Mavericks is something that might give spacing nerds a migraine, but it's got real upside when you look past the redundancy. The defensive numbers, rebounding metrics, and lineup flexibility make it way more functional than it looks at a glance. Flagg's impact on both ends of the floor doesn't just fit with Lively and Gafford, it actually elevates both guys. Let's start with the defense, because that's where this trio has the potential to suffocate teams. Flagg posted 1.4 steals and 1.4 blocks per game at Duke. with a block rate of 3.5%. That's not a guy getting a hand up once in a while. That's a legit weak side shot blocker who doesn't need to be near the rim to change the trajectory of a possession. And that's huge when you're sharing the court with Lively and Gafford, who ranked top 10 among centers in block rate last season. Lively had 2.1 blocks per game, and Gafford was at 2.2. Both of them are pure paint protect, and neither is comfortable switching too far out on the perimeter. That's where Flagg makes it all fit. His ability to guard 1 through 5 means he can take the most mobile wing or switch onto a guard without throwing the entire scheme into chaos. Lively and Gafford can stay anchored near the basket, where they're best, while Flagg handles the perimeter turbulence. That lets Dallas build a defense around staying compact and forcing contested twos instead of scrambling on closeouts. Sporting News data suggests that a Flagg, Lively, Gafford defensive trio could push the Mavericks into a top 5 defensive rating, landing somewhere around 112.9. That's an enormous leap from where they were, and it doesn't require anyone to play out of position. Now for the offense, which is where things get a little tricky, but not broken. Flagg shot 38.5% from 3 at Duke, and that was on real volume, not 1 or 2 attempts a game. He hit 45.1% from 3 after January, which means he improved through the season. That kind of shooting pulls bigs out of the paint. Neither Gafford nor Lively can shoot past the restricted area, so they rely on cuts, lobs, and dump-off. Flagg being able to space from the corner or above the break opens those lanes. More importantly, Flagg averaged 4.2 assists a game at Duke. That's a big number for a forward, especially one being used as a secondary creator. His passing out of drives ranked in the 92nd percentile in college basketball. He doesn't just draw defenders, he punishes them when they rotate. That's how you feed 2 rim runners like Lively and Gafford without clogging the offense. It's not about standing around the dunker spot anymore. With Flagg drawing the help and delivering precise interior passes or lobs, both bigs become scoring threats without needing to isolate. Lively shot 74.7% on lob attempts last season, and Gafford was even better in the restricted area at 78.9%. They don't need touches to score, they just need someone to feed them in motion. Flagg is exactly that type of connector. With him initiating from the wing or top of the key, you get pick and rolls that draw defenders up and open the back door for Gafford or Lively to finish. And then there's the rebound. This trio might be slow in transition, but good luck getting second chances against them. Flagg averaged 7.5 rebounds per game. Lively grabbed 8.1, and Gafford pulled down 7.3. That's over 23 rebounds a night between the three, and most of those are contested. Flagg's offensive rebound rate was 12.5%, which is outrageously good for a wing. Combine that with Lively and Gafford's putback efficiency, 1.4 points per possession on second chance shots, and Dallas suddenly becomes one of the most dangerous rebounding teams in the league. In terms of rebounding differential, a trio of Flagg, Lively, and Gafford would project to be plus 4.2 rebounds per 100 possessions. That's top 3 league-wide. This isn't just about grabbing boards. It's about extending possessions and denying opponents easy scoring chances. Of course, having 3 starting caliber bigs in the same rotation isn't clean. The reality is, this probably doesn't last all season. Dallas has a logjam, especially with Anthony Davis also in the front court. ESPN's Sam Quinn already flagged this, noting that Dallas likely moves either Gafford or Lively to shore up guard depth, especially with Kyrie Irving out with a torn ACL. Flagg being capable of playing both forward spots makes this manageable for now, but long term there's no way Davis, Flagg, Lively, and Gafford all share big minutes. If you're optimizing for fit, the smart lineup is Flagg at power forward, Lively at center, and Gafford coming off the bench. Lively gives more switchability and rim protection, and Flagg's shooting keeps the paint uncluttered. Gafford works as a high-energy second unit anchor, especially in lineups where Flagg slides to small forward and can help initiate while maintaining the same defensive standards. Historically, the closest comp to this setup is the 2022 Cavaliers with Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen. Big, mobile front court with a ton of rim protection and rebounding. The difference is that Flagg shoots better than Mobley did as a rookie, which gives this version higher offensive upside. And while the Cavs lacked shooting from their wings, Flagg's spacing and playmaking balance things out. Adding this trio gives Dallas a projected improvement of negative 5.2 opponent points per game in the restricted area. That might not sound flashy, but it's game-changing. Paint defense wins playoff series. When teams can't finish inside, they settle for jumpers. And that plays right into Dallas' hands with Thompson. and Flagg both capable of rotating out to contest. There are obvious concerns with the offensive fit if none of the bigs can shoot beyond 10 feet, but Flagg's off-ball gravity is what unlocks it all. Defenders can't ignore him. That stretches the floor just enough to create vertical lanes for the centers to attack. It also gives Davis more flexibility. He won't need to play every possession at center or be the only paint protector. Flagg takes pressure off everyone. Flagg's ability to run pick and roll as the ball handler also adds another wrinkle. You can run inverted screens with Lively or Gafford, forcing opposing centers to defend in space, and Flagg can pass out of those plays without panic. That's the kind of offensive diversity Dallas hasn't had in a long time. Realistically, one of the bigs probably moves before the deadline, but in the meantime, Flagg's arrival turns a potential traffic jam into a strategic advantage. He covers ground, makes smart reads, hits threes, and defends like someone who's been in the league for 10 years. He makes Lively and Gafford better, without needing to dominate the ball. There's no need to sugarcoat the awkwardness of trying to make this trio work long term, but for now, the numbers say it's more than viable. It's effective. The advanced metrics, rebounding strength, and defensive synergy make it one of the most punishing front courts in the league. All it needs is smart management, and Flagg's numbers suggest he's more than ready to make it all click. But anyways, so now that it's official, Cooper Flagg is a Maverick, and somehow people are still treating this like it's just another solid rookie pickup. That's fine. People are late on things all the time. But once you actually lay it out, not just the fit with Davis or Kyrie or Klay or the two-headed center rotation, once you really get into the guts of how this all works together, it becomes hard to see this as anything short of a foundational move for the Mavericks. This isn't some wild swing for upside that might pan out. This is a guy who already does everything this team has been trying to patch together for years. He just happens to be 18. And that's where the entire conversation gets flipped on its head. The best part about all of this is how little compromise it requires. Usually, when you bring in a high usage, highly touted rookie, you end up moving people around to cover for what they can't do yet. Not with Flagg. He doesn't need someone to hide him on defense. He doesn't need 3 shooters around him to create space. He doesn't need to dominate the ball to produce. He's just ready to fill whatever hole the lineup has without demanding the spotlight. And the Mavericks have had plenty of holes. With Davis, he immediately fixes the spacing problem around the rim. He stretches the floor just enough to open the interior while providing smart enough passing to relieve the burden of decision-making in tight spots. When Davis wants to work the mid-post or roll to the rim, Flagg's movement off the ball gives him a runway. And if the defense collapses, Flagg doesn't freeze. He rotates into position, finds the gap, or makes the extra pass. It's seamless. There's a reason that pairing projects so well, because both players get to do what they're best at without picking up extra jobs they don't want. Davis doesn't have to initiate. Flagg doesn't have to bang inside. They each just do their job better because the other is there. With Kyrie, it's a similar story. Flagg doesn't take anything away from Irving. He doesn't need the ball for 6 seconds at the top of the key. He doesn't need the offense to revolve around his touches. But what he does give is a perfect counter to every single way defenses try to stop Kyrie. Stick tight to Irving, Flagg stretches the defense out. Collapse on the drive, Flagg's ready to fire. Try to hide a weak defender on him? Good luck, he'll punish that with off-ball cuts or mismatched drives. And defensively, Irving gets help without getting exposed. Flagg picks up the tough assignment, absorbs switches, and rotates behind mistakes. It's not a bailout. It's a system built on making things easier for everyone, especially the guys who are supposed to be carrying the load. Klay fits the same mold. What he needs at this point is predictability. He needs clean looks, structure, and teammates who make the right reads. That's Flagg's wheelhouse. He doesn't play chaotic basketball. He doesn't freelance for highlight plays. He just makes the read and executes it. That's what gets Klay open. That's what keeps him efficient, even as his legs slow down. And on the other side of the floor, Flagg provides the help defense Klay no longer has in the tank. Nobody's pretending this is the Splash Brothers Klay, but in this system, with this rookie, it doesn't have to be. He gets to be a shooter again, a weapon, not a liability. And it's because Flagg stabilizes the perimeter around him. And the front court, that mess of Lively, Gafford, and Davis, that should be impossible to manage. It actually makes sense when you drop Flagg into the mix. He gives the Mavericks permission to go big without getting clunky. You want to run Davis and Gafford together? You can. Flagg spaces the floor and makes smart reads. You want to pair Lively with Davis in a switch-heavy look? Flagg covers ground and helps protect the rim. You want to run an ultra-long lineup and try to turn every game into a half-court war? Flagg makes that viable too. He doesn't break the system. He completes it. And let's be honest, Dallas wasn't going to figure this out without a player like this. They've had talent, they've had veterans, they've had flashes of chemistry, but they haven't had someone who ties it all together without demanding their own spotlight. Flagg is that connector, that glue guy who just happens to have lottery level upside and a motor that doesn't stop. That's why every projection you look at shoots up when he's on the floor. It's not because he's flashy, it's because he's efficient, effective, and always in the right place. It's the kind of fit that gets better the more you watch it. And it's sustainable. That's the scary part. You can build around this for a decade. You don't have to rush him into a role he's not ready for because he's already helping. You don't have to build an entire scheme around covering his flaws because he doesn't really have any obvious ones yet. He can play on ball. He can play off. He can defend wings, guards, and some bigs. He rebounds, moves the ball, and understands spacing. What more are you asking for? It's not that he's the savior of the franchise, it's that he's the exact piece they've been missing to turn a jumbled collection of good players into a real contender. And that's why the fit is elite. Not because it makes Dallas better on paper, though it absolutely does, but because it makes everyone around him better too. And when you can say that about a rookie, it's not a hot take, it's a warning. Cooper Flagg isn't just another draft pick, he's the hinge this whole thing turns on. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during this playoffs. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.